I bet this is a common question, but Dead Heart in a Dead World was probably the best metal record that came out in 2000. Was it hard to come up with a new album after that great release?
Not really. We're still a really hungry band, and we got back from the tour, took some time off, got away from each other, and Jeff and Morrill have become a pretty cohesive songwriting team. And this record came together pretty quick. It was fast and easy, actually. The reason it took so long is because we had troubles finding a producer. A guy that we wanted to use wasn't available, so we ended up staying in Seattle, had a smaller budget, and used a producer from Seattle called Kelly Gray.
I think this album is more aggressive. Is that because of the production, or is it the riffs that Loomis came up with? What's the reason?
Yeah, I think it's mostly the songwriting. I think we've always tried to keep fresh ideas, and he was a little experimental with some death metal riffs in there, and we kind of wanted to go back to like what we did with Politics, make a more technical, fast-paced record. So we never really force anything; it just kind of comes out naturally. Jeff's such a great songwriter, and I guess it was just the mood we were in.
How much does the songs change when he comes to your rehearsal room with a new song?
Some of them change quite a bit. Some of them will change just a little bit. Of course, when he writes, he tends to write pretty long songs. He doesn't like to end songs. They just go on and on. So usually we rearrange them a little bit and shorten them up, get to the point. And of course, if we have some ideas like a bass bridge or some drum parts, we add them.
You said you had problems finding a producer for this album. Did you try to get Andy Sneap back in the chair again?
Yeah, he was unfortunately busy, and our budget for this record was cut in half compared to what we had for Dead Heart. And that's partly the reason the production lacks just a little bit, but yeah, we wanted to go back to where we always record, familiar studio in Texas, and we weren't able to do that because we couldn't afford to. We would have used a bigger producer, but we couldn't afford to, and a friend of ours introduced us to Kelly Gray, and he has a very different style of producing. He's kind of a mostly pop producer. He fell in love with metal. He wants to do metal now, and he was kind of upset. Not originally, he said he would do the record at the budget we had, but at the end result, he was a little upset that he didn't have more money to spend on it. We never really spent any time in a real studio. There's a studio in Seattle called London Bridge. Everybody records there. Alice in Chains, we used to record there, and Pearl Jam, Soundgarden. And we were able to spend 1 week there only. So most of it we did in his house in makeshift studios here and there.
Dead Heart in a Dead World is your best-selling album. Shouldn't your label give you more money to make an even better record this time?
I would think so, but there's some politics involved. They wanted us to resign. We said we wanted to wait till this record was done and in the market, make a decision if we wanted to resign or what we wanted to do with our careers. And they said, well, if you don't resign, then we're not going to give you the budget that we usually do. We'll just stick to the bare necessity of the contract. So it was kind of I guess it's kind of a common tactic for independent labels. And I think they expected us to re-sign and get more money for the record, but instead we found Kelly Gray, and I think we did a really, really good job on the production with the money we had. So we basically told them to go F themselves.
I think this album sounds a bit muddier. The sound isn't that clean as it was on Dead Heart and Dead World. Is that just due to the amount of money and the hours you had in the studio, or did you tell Kelly Gray to do something different?
He was going to do something different anyway. He's more of a pop producer. He hasn't done bands like this, but it was basically just the lack of money. If we would have had more time in his studio, we could have really gone after the problems, spent a lot of time in the studio and ironed them out, but just didn't have the money or the time to do it.
How do you feel about that? Isn't that a bit annoying, knowing that it could have been a even better record if you had more money and more time in the studio? Yeah,
as we went into it, we kind of knew this was going to happen, and I think that's where the tones of the songs came out a little angrier and a little faster and a little more technical. so we just kind of let our aggressions come out in the music. But yeah, it was a little frustrating. But what do? We put out the best record we could, and we move on.
And if you look forward to the next record, I mean, you're not quite happy with that situation now, that you didn't get all the time you needed in the studio. How can you make sure that doesn't happen again?
Well, obviously when we re-sign with a new record company or with Central Media, whoever, we'll go back to... We'll be in more control. I mean, it's rare that a band gets through a record contract. We delivered our last record to Central Media. The contract is over. Every record we do sells more and more, including this one is selling better already in the U.S. And so we're in a pretty good situation to negotiate a new contract where it'll be in our favor. We'll make a better percentage, and we'll get higher recording budgets. So the next record... Really looking forward to it. We'll have plenty of money. We'll have a good studio. We'd like to be in the studio, focused, and spend the whole time in the studio from start to finish. And this was a really weird experience for us not to be in the studio, but I think it came out kind of garage sounding. But yeah, we really look forward to it. But more than anything, we look forward to touring for this record. So we're going to spend at least the next 6 months touring for this record.
Do you think you will use Kelly Gray again on your next record, no matter how much money you can spend on it?
It's hard to say. It was a really good experience recording with him. But I guess we'll just cross that bridge when we get to it. Of course, we really enjoyed working with Andy Sneap, and I think that was our best work. So when the time comes, we'll just figure it out, pick a producer. I think with the right budget, that Kelly Gray could definitely do a much better job, yeah.
Do you think you will hire a second guitar player on a permanent basis? I mean, Chris Broderick was with you on the last tour, as far as I remember, and he did a great job. Now Steve Smythe is with you. Will he become a permanent member of the band, or...?
Well, in the past, we preferred, after a few experiences, to just remain a four-piece and hire a guitar player to tour with us. But that's getting kind of old, and we would really like to find somebody permanent to stay. Chris Broderick is committed to Jag Panzer, and I think Steve's committed to Testament and Dragon Lord. But I'm hoping that somewhere along the line that one of the guitar players will fall in love with us and decide to join us permanently. So right now, Steve Smythe's going to do most of the touring with us.
Do you think you'll ever start writing the songs together as a band?
Yeah, we actually did that with a few of the earlier records, and then things just kind of progressed, and Jeff became such a good songwriter, he did most of it on his own. What would dictate that is once we finally start making a good living at music and we don't have to work day jobs, then we can all focus on just getting down there and writing the music together. But I think for the majority, it'll always be Worrell and Jeff writing the bulk of the music. Like on Dreaming Neon Black, I ended up writing 3 or 4 of the songs, and we were all involved in it. Politics, we were involved in it all the way, all of us. So I think with a change of, career status, that we would probably start all working together on writing music again.
Do you think the music is very different from when you compose together, or he writes all the music? I mean, Politics of Ecstasy is a very heavy album. It hits you in the stomach. It's a bit different than the 2 last or 3 last albums.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think each Nevermore album sounds unique to me, and I think whether we write it together or Jeff does most of the songwriting for music at home, either way, I think it's going to end up, sounding pretty aggressive. You
guys, you're a kick-ass live band. I've seen you a couple of times, and it's a blast every time. Do you think Nevermore will release a live album in the future?
Personally, I don't really like live albums that much. I mean, to really make a live album sound good, you have to, take it into the studio, overdub some guitars, patch it up. If you're going to release a live album, it's got to be raw, and it's rare to do that. A few bands do it really well, and I think with the way technology is progressing in recording techniques, that it'll be possible to record a very good sounding live record in the future. Unfortunately, now that we're out of our contract with Century Media, they own a lot of tapes of us live, and they could decide if they wanted to with the material they own to throw a live CD together and throw it out on the market. We're going to try to head them off at the pass and work with them on it and say, listen, if you're going to throw out a live album, let's work together on it. Let's do a good job and make it a good record. So it's a pretty good chance that we would do one in the near future with Parting Ways with Century Media.
Did you film any shows as well?
Yeah, we've got quite a few festivals and other shows that were filmed and are DVD quality. And I'm sure Century Media will put that out as well. We want to release a DVD eventually, but we don't want to do just a typical, live Nevermore DVD. We want to do something a little more interesting, like a biography, from the beginning to now with, some live music involved. But that's, I think, still a ways off in the future with a new record company.
You sell more and more records. You're a very good band. Do you feel that you get the attention that you deserve after all those years and the albums that you released?
No. I know we're a unique band. A lot of times we're a little too heavy for melodic and power metal fans, a little too soft for death metal fans, and we don't have a vocalist that growls, so those fans really aren't into us either. But there's a lot of open-minded fans from all those genres, and we pick up a little bit of each of them. And every year our fan base grows and grows. And I think we're coming into an age where we're finally going to start getting respect, and start really having some good live shows as far as attendance and making some money. And that's all we're looking for, really, is to sustain ourselves as musicians and make a living at it.